Today is Friday, October 6th. We're talking about the restart of a border wall, but this time it's the Biden administration behind it, why the White House says it has no choice, and why the U.S. military had to shoot down an ally's drone. Also, what weather can you expect this winter? We'll share the latest predictions. Plus, houses on the moon could apparently be a thing in less than 20 years. When and possibly why Netflix is raising prices again. And another Powerball jackpot surpasses $1 billion. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. In what's seen as a big surprise, President Biden's administration started moving ahead with a border wall. The White House said it would build up to 20 miles of barriers to try to control the number of migrant crossings from Mexico into Texas. And it's waiving several laws, regulations, and other legal requirements to do so, like those that protect water, air, and endangered species. Of course, the border wall was a signature policy of former President Trump. And on President Biden's first day in the White House, he stopped all border wall construction. So what's this new announcement all about then? Well, the Homeland Security Secretary says they don't have a choice, saying the construction project was planned years ago, and the law says the government has to use the funds for that purpose unless Congress intervenes, which it hasn't. Even yesterday, President Biden said he does not think building a wall is an effective way to keep migrants out. Still, the president is facing backlash from immigration and environmental advocates, as well as Mexico's president, who called the move a step backwards. Meanwhile, former President Trump demanded an apology from Biden. Wall or no wall, pretty much everyone does agree something needs to happen to fix America's immigration system. There has been a record number of migrant crossings at the U.S.-Mexico border during President Biden's term. Biden says it's a problem he inherited and that Congress should pass real reform. But both Republicans and some Democratic governors and mayors say Biden is not doing enough to stop the crossings, as they've become overwhelmed with migrants requesting shelter. Well, the Biden administration says it's going to keep doing what it can within its power. In fact, the White House also announced yesterday that for the first time in years, it will resume direct deportation flights to Venezuela. And that could make a big difference since Venezuelans make up a large portion of migrants crossing in the U.S. now. House Republicans are apparently looking to a familiar face to fill the now vacant speaker role, former President Trump. Yes, some GOP lawmakers have suggested Trump for the job, even as he runs for president again. And that's okay since the Constitution does not actually say a speaker must be a member of Congress, even though historically it always has been. And yesterday, Trump told Fox News he would accept the speakership, at least for a short period of time until lawmakers can reach a long-term decision. He also told Fox he would visit the U.S. Capitol next week as the House comes back together for their speaker election, which, by the way, would be his first visit to the Capitol since before the January 6th Capitol riot. But no matter what, Trump says his main focus will be on winning back the White House. And he does still have a lot of support for that right now. The Trump campaign announced this week it raised more than $45.5 million in the third quarter. For comparison, that's triple the amount brought in by his closest GOP rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. On the Democratic side, President Biden's campaign has not announced its fundraising for the last quarter, but in the second quarter, he brought in a huge haul that surpassed Trump by quite a bit. So if money talks, it's really looking like a repeat of 2020. Biden versus Trump. That said, it seems there will also be a third-party candidate on the ballot. Left-wing activist Cornel West says he's planning to run as an independent for president. And Robert F. Kennedy, who is now one of Biden's Democratic challengers, is expected to announce an independent run next week. Well, the American military did something especially rare this week. It used force against another member of NATO. The U.S. shot down an armed drone from Turkey. The Pentagon says it acted since the drone was flying over a base in northeastern Syria, where American troops are located in what's considered a restricted zone. In fact, American troops were forced to go to bunkers for safety as Turkey bombed targets nearby. So commanders determined the drone was a threat, and a fighter jet shot it down. No one was hurt, and there's no indication Turkey was purposely targeting U.S. troops. Still, the Pentagon's press secretary called it a regrettable incident. Top American military leaders say they spoke with their Turkish counterparts quickly afterwards, letting them know they still value Turkey as an ally. But they also spoke about better coordination to prevent this kind of thing from happening again. So far, Turkey has not spoken publicly about this incident, but the U.S. says the calls were fruitful. It's still early, but forecasters are already guessing what kind of winter weather might be in store for the U.S. And what they're predicting is a winter very different from last year. That means if you live in the Northeast, get the snow shovels ready. Millions of people are expected to see more snow than they did last year in places like New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, and beyond. In the Southeast, there could be more severe weather and tornadoes, while still being colder than last winter. For the central U.S., the snowfall is expected to be closer to the historical average than last winter, when places like Minneapolis got way more snow than usual. And out west, well, that's the one region where a repeat of last year is most likely. That means there could be some big storms in California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico that could bring monumental snowfall in the mountains and flooding rain elsewhere, while storms are expected to mostly miss the Pacific Northwest. Forecasters are making these predictions based on a strengthening El Niño weather pattern that's been around all summer too, but is apparently amplified in the winter months. Though these predictions still are not quite as precise as the short-term forecasts, so here's hoping for the best. We have more news for you coming up. But first, I want to let you know about our sponsor, Honeylove. This one is for the ladies listening or for you to recommend to the women in your life. Honeylove is the place to go for everything from leggings and tanks to shapewear and bras. And in my experience, you can rely on the comfort, fit, quality, and look of Honeylove no matter what. It seems like they think of everything we might want, but didn't know existed. The Legging 2.0, for example, has it all: comfort, function, and style. So it has really smooth, soft fabric, hidden shaping panels that make me feel extra supported and confident wearing them, shear-proof fabric so I have no worries, side pockets for convenience, a super cute look, and more. I love that I can wear them out and about, around the house, or just to work out. And Honeylove addresses all of the typical complaints about bras and shapewear as well. I also just really appreciate how Honeylove's goal is to embolden women of all shapes and sizes. So treat yourself to the best bras, shapewear, and leggings on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/newsworthy. And after you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Okay, now back to the news. Think of it as an off-Earth Airbnb. NASA is apparently planning to build houses on the moon. And by 2040, they could actually have their first subdivision in space. It wouldn't just be for the astronauts either. The New York Times gets into the exact plans with 7 different NASA scientists. They say the goal is to launch a giant 3D printer to the moon that's already been used to build homes here on Earth. They'll also use lunar concrete made of rocks, mineral fragments, and dust to build the homes. And NASA is working with universities and private companies to build doors, tiles, and even furniture. They'll start testing that stuff in space-like conditions in a few months. Then NASA will have to figure out how to send everything to the moon. It's already planning to send astronauts back to the moon next year, and then 3 more times before the end of the decade. So this could be part of their assignments as well. At this point, NASA hasn't said much about how it would charge for civilians to stay in the moon house, but we can expect to hear more in the next 20 years. There was a confession this week during the criminal trial of Sam Bankman-Fried, aka SBF. As you might know, Bankman-Fried was the co-founder of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, and he's accused of orchestrating a years-long scheme to drain billions of dollars of FTX customer and investor money to make himself rich. Well, the other co-founder, Gary Wang, testified in SBF's fraud trial yesterday, and under oath he said he committed multiple financial crimes under the direction of SBF, and that they knew exactly what they were doing. Wang is set to get back on the witness stand this morning. His testimony, along with that of 2 other close business associates, is considered crucial for the government's case. All the while, Bankman-Fried is pleading not guilty. In the opening statement, one of SBF's lawyers tried to explain that his client just made some bad business decisions, but did not commit fraud. The trial is expected to last up to 6 weeks. Expect streaming services to get even more expensive soon. The Wall Street Journal says Netflix is planning to raise the price of its ad-free service after the actors' strike ends. It's not clear how big this hike will be, but there have been plenty of increases already, the latest one being just last year. And now the standard ad-free version of Netflix costs $15.50 a month. But it's not just Netflix. The company behind Discovery Plus said this week it will also raise the monthly price of its ad-free tier by $2. And starting next week, the ad-free versions of Hulu and Disney Plus will cost an extra $3 a month. The streamers haven't actually said these price increases have anything to do with the strikes in Hollywood, but one media business writer for The Hollywood Reporter says the timing is no coincidence. He and other experts have said the ongoing actors' strike and recently ended writers' strike could cost Hollywood hundreds of millions of dollars, and customers are having to foot some of that bill. By the way, HBO Max, Peacock, Paramount Plus, and Starz have already raised prices earlier this year, and a few of them have said they're also working to address the issue of password sharing, too. There's another chance for someone to become an instant billionaire. The Powerball jackpot has gone up to $1.4 billion, the third largest prize in history, and it could keep growing. So far, with no grand prize winner, there's been 34 drawings in a row. The next drawing is happening tomorrow night. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break for our sponsor, Lumi. And I have to say, I was a bit skeptical about trying another deodorant after the one I used to like was just not working for me anymore. But then I was pleasantly surprised with Lumi. I am really impressed with how long it helps me feel fresh and smell great. Makes sense since Lumi is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Of course, I also appreciate that it's aluminum-free and paraben-free. I also love that Lumi has a bunch of different products to choose from. Like their deodorant wipes are really convenient for on the go, whether that's post-gym or post-work or during travel. And you can use it on your underarms, feet, anywhere. In fact, Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like those deodorant wipes I mentioned, as well as a mini body wash, which I've been loving in the clean tangerine scent. Oh, and you get free shipping too. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with code NEWSWORTHY at LumiDeodorant.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit Lumi Deodorant, L-U-M-E, LumiDeodorant.com, and use code NEWSWORTHY. Okay, now back to Feel Good Friday. And today we are talking about how a town united all to find a missing Lego toy. There was a lot of interest since 10-year-old Jack Steele put up a missing person poster for his Lego figurine. Jack says he made it to look like himself and he carried it everywhere. In fact, he named the toy Mini Jack. So when he realized it fell out of his backpack and was nowhere to be found, he got to work with his crayons. He drew a picture of the Lego man and wrote up a description labeling all the parts, then made it into a poster and hung it up on a pole near his school. His mom also took a picture of the poster and shared it on Facebook. Well, that post ended up getting tons of shares and comments, and some people even offered to buy him a replacement. But ultimately, it wasn't necessary. Eventually, the post found its way to a girl who had picked up Mini Jack during her own walk to school and was happy to return it. Now Jack says he's being extra careful with Mini Jack so he doesn't get lost again. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode, giving you the best strategies for early holiday shopping, especially with these major sales events planned for next week. And of course, we'll be back on Monday with your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.